We're trying to be guided really by the same principle that has always guided us, which is to be there for sports fans no matter where they are. It's part of our mission that's sort of expanded to be not just about our networks anymore. It's across platforms. It's across digital and social. It's off ESPN entirely in terms of the things we've done with Snap and, with YouTube and with Twitter. It is to respond to the transformation that's happening in the industry in terms of how people are acquiring content, whether that's a continued multi-channel subscription product or whether that's an over-the-air only solution or whether that's a direct-to-consumer solution. So when we go into these conversations now about rights acquisitions, what we try to acquire is a way that we can create meaningful engagement with fans across all of those things. And actually, it's a very exciting time for us because we're trying to use each one of those platforms to its full and best purpose for the content that we acquire. And ABC has been a part of the solution for a long time, but we're now looking at it as nothing's in isolation, I guess is what I'm saying, right? When we go into a conversation, the NHL deal is probably the perfect example of this. First of all, it's very recent, but we have an over-the-air broadcast network in ABC. We have multiple cable networks under the ESPN brand. We have the industry's biggest and most powerful reach vehicles in digital and social. And now we have ESPN Plus and direct-to-consumer, which is not just a standalone direct-to-consumer, but is also bundled with Disney Plus and Hulu. So we're finding that rights holders typically care about two things. One is reach, just getting to as many people as possible with their content. And then second is, which aligns closely with our effort to expand our business, is to reach new fans, new audiences through new platforms and new technologies. So it's not just enough anymore for them to drive the highest possible economics for their rights. They really want to also make sure as best they can to be where fans are, in as many different ways as possible. And So it's an interesting moment for us because we have these big reach vehicles in ABC and ESPN, and we have this new business we're trying to build in ESPN Plus, which actually aligns with a transforming industry and helps us get content from rights holders in front of people who may be existing outside the multi-channel system. And so it's an interesting alignment in terms of what we're trying to do, from a business perspective and what rights holders are trying to do in order to maximize the value of their media rights and continue to grow their fan bases.
I love that. And that's a powerful combination of those things, but I still feel like we're stuck in this. And I'm not saying we being, Disney, but just we as an industry are stuck in this place between that really broad reach is shrinking in a lot of ways, right? If it's pay TV, it's shrinking. And the audience isn't yet enough to cancel it out, right? And the direct-to-consumer model. And there's piracy and a bunch of things, right, that mess with the whole economic equation. But I don't know if you can shed any light on that, but I feel like we're between those two places. It's a classic innovator's dilemma type situation, right? We're stuck in this world that we were so used to, which was easy and we were really good at it and we knew how to do it. And, this is where it's going and it's inevitable. But the economics feel like they're suffering in that interim. So I don't believe they always will, but it feels like they are.
For sure, I'll agree with you in the notion that we're in the middle of something right now, right? One of the things that frustrates me is sometimes the reporting on rights deals can be vastly oversimplified, where it's kind of like, well, why isn't this happening? Or they make it sound like we're just going to wake up one day, everybody, everything's going to be changed, right? And nothing works that way, right? So is it an industry disrupted? No doubt. Are we at a moment in the middle of a transformation that's incomplete? No question about it. Do we see opportunity on both sides of that dynamic? We do. There's no doubt that we're committed to the multi-channel environment, but we also feel like there's an opportunity, and Disney recognized this. We certainly did through the sports lens ahead of some of our competitive set, because ESPN Plus is not a yesterday thing. We launched 3 years ago almost. And we were doing things 3 years ago that some of our competitors are just now doing, in terms of how they see it all coming together. That's always been our guiding principle, is to try and be the leader in as many different executions as possible necessary to reach sports fans as best as possible, I guess that I put it. So, it's a little bit like standing on quicksand because it's shifting and moving so dramatically at this moment. But, for fans, other than some complications inherent in having a bunch of content in a bunch of different places, it's actually a great moment to be a sports fan, because I think the expectation now is between us and others that if you're a fan of X, Y, or Z, you should have an expectation that you're able to see that somewhere, right? And get that somewhere, right? And I use myself as the example, right? I said a couple of minutes ago, I didn't go to a big college football school, but now as a Patriot League graduate, I feel like, I should wake up every Saturday morning and expect to be able to find Holy Cross's football games somewhere. And that's pretty unbelievable.
Since they weren't on TV 10 years ago, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now that's my expectation. My daughter plays Division III lacrosse in college. And if there's any, technical problems with the webcast, I'm kind of like, what's going on? Why can't I see Skidmore women's lacrosse? That's a far different expectation than existed only a few years ago. And I think that's to the benefit of all sports fans. I think that now permeates deeper into the ecosystem than it ever has before. And all of this will shake out. Technology always wins, innovation always wins. So we're just trying to manage our way through and be a part of every possible outcome.